We're going to be pulling the strut out of the car, but let's get some of these accessories off first. That's going to get the brake hose and the speed sensor wired. All right, 17 millimeter. I'm going to take the entire caliper and caliper bracket off. Still a little stuck here. Some flash rusting on that brake rotor. Now my caliper hook is a little too long, so let me go ahead and remove this bolt here. I can just hang it out of the hole that it was in. Yeah, we're not stretching that hose or anything. 17 millimeter I'm going to go ahead and remove. All right, same 17 millimeter. Underneath the ball joint, there's 3 fasteners. There's going to be 2 nuts and 1 bolt to pull out of there. And that way I don't have to separate the ball joint. This is a 22 millimeter. Count it out with this screwdriver here. It's okay, it's got a hammer cap on it. And this bolt doesn't have an eccentric on there, so there's no adjustment here, so you can put it back in anyway. All right, moving into the engine bay now. This is the top of the strut tower, and we're gonna take off these 3 nuts. All right, we're just gonna put these to the side now, and the strut is gonna come out the bottom. Here we go, just set this to the parts pile. Okay, right here on the axle is a channel that's been cut out, and this nut has been staked in there. So I'm gonna use my my chisel and just kind of pull that nut back out of there so that we can turn it off. You're gonna want a 30 millimeter 12 point for this. If your axle gets seized in here by rust or something, you need to put a chisel just here, right in the center of the axle, and hammer it in. Alright, just a regular strap here. I'm going to put this up through one of the bolt holes for the strut, hang it there, and then I'll be able to hang this entire knuckle from it. You got to get right back here, right against the transmission with a pry bar, and just pry this loose. I've got an impacting pry bar. It's got a flat tip on it, straight, it's not bent. So I'm just going to go right under this dust cover. Just like that. And give it a pop. There we go. And we can just pull the axle out. A little bit of damage here to this dust cover. If you were going to reuse the axle, you could just hammer that back in. If you look at this end of it here, you see that little clip that's floating around inside that groove? That's what holds it in to the transmission. All right, just grab yourself some type T4 transmission fluid. I'm going to use that just on this inside portion of the CV axle. Just going to get that lubed up a little bit so that it doesn't tear the seal as it goes in. It just gets nice and smooth and everything will be all right. But you'll definitely need this on hand. You didn't see any transmission fluid spill out when I pulled that axle. That's because I drained the transmission. If you don't drain the transmission, you'll have some come out. So put a pan under there and have some ready to go to top it off. All right, let's go ahead and just weave that in there real carefully. I want to make sure it doesn't hit the seal as it goes in. With this knuckle loose like it is, I can just move it back and get it completely out of the way. And then just turn the axle until, okay, I felt it right there. It's engaged inside the teeth there. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a hammer. There you go, did you see that pop in there? Okay, and then just a test fit, go ahead and grab back here, and that axle is locked in. Okay, now I can just move the knuckle and fit the other end of the axle through it. There you go. All right, just line up your studs and pull up on the control arm. It'll also help if you grab a pry bar, just put it in here down in that hole, and you can pull up on your control arm. Got a lot more leverage that way. There we go. All right, I've just got the axle nut. It's going back on. I'm going to thread it on by hand, and that's going to give me just enough hold so that I can undo this strap and we can get our strut back in. It'll stay there if you don't touch it. All right, here's the strut. Let's go ahead and feed it in top first. There you go. Just finger tight is all you need for right now. We're just gonna let it hang, and we'll go back down here and hook it up to the knuckle. Just gonna push down on the control arm to get it around the strut, like that. All right, let me grab a locating bar here. Just gonna stick this bar through these holes and try to get them to line up. See if I can get this first one through. There we go. All right. All right, sway bar end link goes right in here. If you still have the original Toyota sway bar, that's a 6mm hex key that you can use to stop it. I'm going to start with just a stubby ratcheting wrench, and that'll help me go a little bit quicker. I'll just snug it up with this guy here. Oh, still wants to turn on me. That's okay. There we go. All right, the brake caliper's still hanging here. Let's go ahead and pull this off of the hook. We lost one of the brake pads. There we go. Okay, this is the wheel speed sensor. Let's put it over there, and remember it clips right over the knuckle and the bottom of the strut right over here. And we'll put the bracket on the strut and then bring the brake hose up to the bottom of that bracket and then line it up right there. Perfect. All right, here's your speed sensor. Goes right down here into that hole in the hub, and then we got to put that bolt in. You remember this little bar from before? I'm just going to stick it right here in the brake rotor, and that's going to keep this from turning while we torque that nut. We're going to go to 217 foot-pounds, so we've got that right there on the torque wrench. All right, here we go. 217. Yeah, it's a lot of torque. Don't have to go too wild with it, but it's bent now into there, and this nut is not going to turn by itself. And we'll give it a couple ugga-duggas. Well, replacing the axle on this car is a pretty simple job, and I hope it goes okay for you. Now, take it out on a test drive and bring it back into the shop to make sure that there's no leaks around that axle seal on the transmission. As far as this goes, it was a little bit more complicated for me because I just replaced the transmission on this car and the axle was the last part of that job. So I'm ready to take it out on a test drive, and it's pretty exciting. If you'd like to see some of the other work that I've done to this car, you can click right over here and watch that playlist.